need to apologize for us.
Sorry. We will call the Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting to order for March 25th, and I apologize for us being a little bit late. We had a work session with the school board that ran a little bit longer than we planned. So here we are now. I'm going to ask Mr. Seeley if he would give us the invocation, please.
Can we all please stand? Heavenly Father, give us guidance, direction, and help in all the business that we need to conduct this evening. Let everybody be mindful that we are neighbors and citizens in the same county, and that the needs that we have and the wants that we have and the direction we need to follow may not always be in what everybody sees as the direct path. But through your guidance and through your hand, we can make our way. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Mr. Cully, do we at this time have any amendments?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. We do not have any amendments to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question on the agenda, and I meant to ask you earlier and forgot. In our public hearings for taxes, we talked about a tax for Caroline Pines. So that needs to be advertised before we can do it. Okay, thank you.
So are we going to advertise? Did we decide to do it? We decided to do, because we wanted legal advice on how we could do it. It has to be part of real estate? It can't be a flat fee? We want to charge a flat fee of $5 to each resident.
So it's got to be percentages of real estate.
It's not a sanitary district. It's a service district. So a service district, you cannot have a separate tax.
Flat fee.
A flat fee. I mean a flat fee.
It's flat real estate. It's a penny on the real estate.
Yeah, does it have to be associated with real estate? Because there are people that have $300,000 homes and people that have $90,000 homes. They're still using the same amount of water. They shouldn't be punished. Okay. All right. Mr. Emerson is going to let us know, or let Mr. Cully know, and we'll put that on our agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Opening board comments, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple. Today I had the pleasure of going along with some members of the RAAA board, as well as community services board persons. We did a tour today, which included the crisis stabilization program, Kenmore Club, Ruffins Pond Group Home, and I think another group home in Ruther Glen, along with the Pat Spoiling building. And basically looking at the kinds of services that they provide and how Caroline is a part of the region that can benefit from the services that are performed there. And it was just very enlightening and very good. And so I had an opportunity to do that. And if you ever get a chance as other board members, it might be something you might want to do if another tour is arranged. And the only other thing is I will be having Port Royal District community meetings on Monday the 7th at the Port Royal Fire Department, and on Monday the 14th at the Upper Caroline Fire Department. So any persons interested in coming, feel free to do so. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Black?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Underwood?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one. On March 14th, I attended the opening celebration for the YMCA, and of course, Senator Warner spoke, and I was it was a very good time, because I think people really begin to see what an asset the YMCA is going to be to the county. So it was a very nice celebration, and we're looking forward to it opening. I know that there's, as we look out, because of the weather again, they can't finish the paving of the road, but hopefully that'll take place very soon and get this wide opening so our citizens can enjoy the YMCA. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood. Mr. Akers?
No, sir, not this time.
Mr. Seeley?
Mr. Chairman, I have one. Saturday, I attended the family fair that's put on by Caroline's Promise. It was at the Caroline Middle School. One of the interesting things is they actually provide classes for the daycare providers and other folks that provide care for folks in the county, and I didn't realize that that gave them 3 hours of certification. I want to say that it was fairly well attended, and I think that it's a phenomenal thing that gets provided for folks locally to do something local to get certified in their credit hours that they need for daycare and other providers. So I just want to say thanks to the Caroline Promise and for holding that on Saturday at the middle school.
That's it? That's it. All right, thank you. I have a few. I've been attending a local leaders, ministers conference here at the community center to talk about various topics and basically get to know your neighbor session. We've been meeting for about 9 months. The next meeting is the 29th at 7 p.m. at the community center, and I'm inviting all board members to attend if they can. There's no county business or no county action taking place, so it's not a meeting, but it's as I said, a group of local ministers. Major Mosier's one of those who serves too, so it's a really good group, and again, I'm inviting all the board members to attend. From a county perspective, on Wednesday, the 2nd of April, at 12 noon, we're going to be restarting our technology committee work, and we're doing a presentation for internal county folks at 12 noon, and the goal is to improve our overall website and to add features for mobile users. And we're also going to try to discuss our phone tree. For those of you who've called and gone through the phone tree, it's a little cumbersome to say the least, so we're going to try to work through that. And I forwarded, I think yesterday, a letter or an email from VRE that basically said I don't think it's any surprise that they weren't interested in expanding into Caroline at this time. Not sure what that means, whether we'll have to run bus service up to Spotsylvania or we'll have to run our own tracks up there, but at this time they're not looking at the county. And the last thing is I have 2 district meetings this week, tomorrow in the community center, and I'm going to give a budget overview and a general discussion of what's going on or what ideas we have for the town of Milford, or the unofficial town of Milford, growth, business, things of that nature. And then Thursday I'll be at the visitor center. We're going to talk about economic development in the county, transportation studies for Carmel Church Station, and of course budget question answers. So that's it for me. Moving on to the next item would be appointments. And I still have the BZA to do, so I will do that. Rappahannock EMS, we have that one. No one missed call? I lost my place. I'm coming.
We have the Rappahannock Emergency Medical Service Council, which we do have.
We don't have EMS again. All right, Mr. Roselle for RAAA is no longer serving. He's recommended Reverend David Upshaw as his replacement. I know Reverend Upshaw from the community meetings we just talked about. Mr. Underwood, he's in your district?
Mr. Upshaw is in my district also. So is Maxie. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Reverend Upshaw for the appointment, the citizen appointment to the Rappahannock Area Agency on Aging.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Akers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. We do have Rappahannock EMS, Mrs. or Susan Dietrich is willing to serve, and I don't remember where she's from.
Overall district.
Okay, Mr. Taylor, you want to make a motion for Ms. Dietrich?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Seeley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. And then we have the EDA appointment. Apparently, for whatever reason, we only were allowed 7 members, but when we went to 6 districts, we added an 8th, and now 1 person is moving off. And it becomes the at-large person that actually Mr. Black had appointed. So Mr. Carter, the slot is not valid, and he's not available to appoint him at the time. But Mr. Ratcliffe was the one who was going to serve his time, right?
Yeah, he resigned. Mr. Ratcliffe resigned, and so Mr. Carter can be appointed to fill the unexpired term of Mr. Ratcliffe. The appointments to the IDA originally are not by district. Y'all historically appointed them that way, but they're really basically all at large. So the appointment may say you're filling the unexpired term of Mr. Ratcliffe, an at-large member, but it's coming and he lives in your district, and he's sort of your district member.
Went down the wrong way. Okay, so we are going to, even though they're all at large, to make sure we are all satisfied with the representation, we'll still continue the tradition of at-large representing 1 from each district and have 1 truly at-large person. So we are going to be the 6. Mr. Black, since this is your at-large, would you like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion that we appoint Mr. Danny Carter to the EDA.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Black, seconded by Mr. Akers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Consent agenda. Anything you'd like to pull from the consent agenda?
Item J, Mr. Chairman.
Item J. I have item J. Anything else? Motion to approve consent agenda A through I and K would be in order.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Black and Mr. Akers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. Item J. Item J is a resolution for timely passage of the budget. Mr. Cully.
Delegate Ransom called me and asked me if I would have this placed on the agenda for consideration, that she was concerned that there wasn't going to be a state budget and wanted to have counties weigh in on it. I think some counties in the district that she serves have approved that, but that's where it came from. She actually called me and then sent the email.
Okay. Mr. Underwood is asked to pull it. I read the resolution. The resolution is for the passage of a state budget. In the resolution, it says, be it resolved further that the issue of Medicaid expansion under the Affordable Care Act should be decoupled from the budget negotiations and considered in a separate legislation. As a person who really enjoys a good fight, I'm not sure this is the fight that we're supposed to be in, because this is the new governor, the new Democratic governor, and the Republican House. And if nothing else, I've been wrong before, but if nothing else, I'm consistent. And we didn't get involved when the federal government, where most of our funds come from, did the same thing. So I would respectfully agree with Mrs. Ransom is that we would do it, but she's in the General Assembly, so she has more control than we do, especially getting it done. But how does the rest of the board, I know it could be a partisan issue. We're not partisan in. Now that would be a fairly good compromise. How does the rest of the board feel about it?
What was Mr. Cully?
Mr. Cully said we could strike the issue of Medicaid expansion from it, which is the next to last paragraph. And we're basically saying what we would like is for them to pass a budget. Sure.
Mr. Chairman, we had a Social Services Board meeting last week. And in the Social Services Board meeting, we get presentations from the different, I don't want to call them departments, the different groups in social services. And the folks that presented to us at our last meeting were the folks that actually administer Medicaid. The state changed, and this is, I just want to give you some basis for where they're coming from. The supervisors and 3 workers were all there. They have changed the software as well as how folks have to apply for Medicaid. We have 4,000 Medicaid recipients in Caroline County. They are currently, and I don't know how they're picking them out, but we are getting these applications. These are renewal forms. The smallest one is 17 pages. These are being mailed to the clients and then brought to social services. This is supposed to be from the software, and the software doesn't even print out what's in the system. So currently each worker is getting 45 of these. They have 15 days to complete it. That's where we're at today. When they talked about Medicaid expansion, they're talking about 1,350 additional folks for Caroline. And what the workers are telling me is that if that happens, we're looking at anywhere from 6 to 9 additional people just to dig out from underneath this. And I don't think anybody realizes what the expansion really means, except the folks in social services. And we won't get additional funding for employees. All the localities will have to pick that up. And I think when you start looking at the longest application is 38 pages, the smallest one is 17 pages currently. They are all very distressed. They're working a lot to just to get the ones that they're getting, because folks don't get their benefits unless they're actually certified as this process moves forward. So I'm just saying that because they all cautioned me religiously about what the expansion would mean to our social services office. And I just want to say that so that everybody's working from the same page I am. We listen to these folks for an hour at our board meeting.
Okay, and I think that's probably a good debate that we should have at another time, because there's, 400,000 uninsured Virginians out there that would be covered. We don't know, and I think this has all been discussed in General Assembly, and I think the governor's latest proposal was let's do it for 2 years instead of 3 to see how it works. So that's a debate that's going to be held again at the General Assembly level, and I really appreciate the local impact, but when we talk about a resolution for us to put our name on going forward to the governor and the General Assembly, I mean, we didn't do it when the Congress didn't pass their budget because they wanted to tie the budget to, the affordable health care. We didn't do anything then, and frankly, our congressman didn't either. So now we're asked to do the same thing. Does the board want to continue with the resolution as is, or with the resolution and strike out the Medicaid expansion? So we're saying we'd like you to, approve a budget?
I would like to approve the resolution because certainly I want the state to pass a budget. Obviously, we would be crazy not to.
Right.
But I don't see the need for including the Medicaid expansion Affordable Care Act part of it. And I say that because that's a whole different fight altogether. And however that pans out, that's kind of up to the General Assembly to make a decision when the time comes. If we approve it with that in there, I think we would be saying, or at least I would be saying as an elected official, that I would be okay with a budget that didn't include the Affordable Care Act. I would definitely not be okay with that.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
We'll strike the Medicaid expansion part being decoupled from budget negotiations and let them use whatever tactics they want to use, but get us a budget as soon as possible. Is there a second?
I second it, Mr. Chairman.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. So we'll go from there. Consent agenda passes.
Mr. Chairman, I needed to vote no on that because the Medicaid, listening to the Social Services Board and the workers, I will tell you that it has impact that we need to be aware of.
And I appreciate that. Mr. Seeley would like his vote recorded as no.
Mr. Chairman, I voted aye, but I wanted also to be known that I'm not in support of the Affordable Care Act as been proposed.
Right, but
again, I don't think it's appropriate for us to get involved in a political fight between the governor and the General Assembly. We cannot win that. There's just no way we can win that fight.
Right.
We'll end up losing. But as far as the other side of the fence,
and we could have another vote. We could have another vote or another discussion on the Affordable Care Act, but not tonight.
I understand.
Okay, so
But when we have the discussion, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Cully, I'd like to have a few folks from social services here, because I will tell you when they're done talking to you, you will completely understand what they mean by what effect this is going to have on everybody.
Right. And that's the thing, and we really don't know, because we don't know about the federal money, or we don't know any of that. They're just kind of saying this is it. So more information is needed. We'll have another discussion on that. Can I do agenda item number 8 now, since the other ones are public hearings? That's the approval agreement for Hanover. Or do I need somebody here?
Everything's better than in the towns.
Yeah. Can you do that?
I think I can. We've been working with Hanover County for the lease of tower space and shelter space at both Doswell and Beaver Dam tower sites. And for our radio system, which saves us the having to find commercial space in Caroline and or to build towers in the county. With that, Hanover offered us, they put up 15 towers, I think, when they put their radio system in, and they use those because they put them up to lease space out to private cell and those types of things. So they have a set rate, and they negotiated with us their rate at 50% of what they charge the commercial. You'll see on the very back page in your packet, so that they reduced their rates to us. We also are negotiating, and it was a year ago, but you may remember we were going to have to buy from Motorola the Track 9100s.
Right.
And we're buying those for about 50% the cost of those as well. And those are really not used. Hanover didn't use them very long, and then came up with another more redundant method in their system. So they've just been sitting on a shelf in Hanover, so they were willing to sell us. And we're going to buy one extra to have ourselves for a spare to stick anywhere in the system in case one were to break. But what those do are basically a GPS timing issue. So when people key up a radio, and it goes out on the towers, it kind of keeps everything synced up at the exact same, and that way it knows how to broadcast the clearest signal out of the right tower. And so we would certainly recommend that that we purchase those out of the borrowed funds. We had planned to do it from Motorola anyway and cut it out of the Motorola contract. And then we already have budgeted for the FY15 budget this amount in the budget for tower lease, along with the other leases we've got and have negotiated with the private providers in the county and one in Essex. And attorneys have worked on this language in the agreement, and Ben can speak to the language because he negotiated that with Hanover County Attorney's Office.
This total number just covers the 2 sites we have in Hanover, right?
Yes, sir. The total number for leases is about $101,000 for all 6 sites.
Okay.
And so this just covers the Hanover site we're dealing with Hanover and the purchase of the track units. Hanover also, we're not even putting a shelter there. So we're going to go in their building, put our 3 racks that we're going to be riding off of their generator, their electric, all of our other sites. We'll actually have to be put one of those cement buildings in, and our own generator and electric and all that type of thing.
So for 2 sites, the annual lease is almost $40,000, $20,000 a site. And it would cost us $1 million to put up our own antenna.
That is
our own tower.
Put our own HUD in, and then we'd be, and there again, we'd be having to pay for generator and all that stuff there as well that we're not paying in Hanover.
So rough fuzzy math, we can lease these tower sites for 50 years before we would pay for our own. Well, 25 years before we pay for our own. So I think that's a good idea. So, okay. Anybody want to, is there a motion to move forward with the Hanover sites?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept approve the agreement with Hanover County regarding the use of the Hanover County communication system for our use for our radio system.
And the
track purchase.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Seeley, second by Mr. Black. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Cully, why don't we can we do the closed meeting? We can take a break and do the closed meetings and be back at 7:30 for the public hearings. We have closed meetings for possible litigation, effective litigation. Well, we'll just go and do for all of them, and if we don't finish, we'll come back. Okay. And then we got personnel.
So I'm just doing, are we doing all of these or 3 of them?
We're going to do all of them, and if we don't finish, we'll come back out.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we convene in closed meeting pursuant to the prospective business exemption under Section 2.2-3711 .I.5 of the Code of Virginia, discuss certain issues related to the location of a business location in the county about which no previous public announcement has been made, the consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff under exemption 2.2-3711 A7 of the Code of Virginia regarding specific legal matters requiring legal advice regarding the collection of amounts due to the county related to sale of water to Ladysmith Water Company and legal issues related to VDOT requirements related to the prospective business of item 1 above. The third is the acquisition and disposition of real property exemption under 2.2-3711A3 of the Code of Virginia to discuss potential acquisition by the county of certain real property near the wastewater treatment plant and regarding the easement requested by Columbia Gas where discussion in open meeting would adversely affect the county's bargaining position or negotiating strategy. And fourth, the personnel exemption under 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia to discuss personnel matters identified as an annual performance review of the county administrator by the board.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We'll be in closed meeting. All right, we will reconvene the March 25th meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We have come to close to the 7:30 time where we have public comments, and then we're going to have a public hearing on the budget, the tax rate, thank you, the water usage rates, and 3 text amendments and an ordinance for erosion and sediment control. But first, we need to come out of closed meeting. Is there a motion to come out of closed meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we come out of closed meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Black. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Taylor, do you certify that only those things that we entered closed meeting were discussed?
I so certify.
Mr. Black, do you certify?
I so certify.
Mr. Underwood?
I so certify.
Mr. Akers?
I so certify.
Mr. Seeley?
I so certify.
And I so certify. We completed 3 of the 4 closed meetings. We still need to go back for closed meetings for the county administrator's performance review. But we will go back to public comments. And at this time, this public comment session we are going to have now is about any item that you would like to discuss that's not a public hearing. So in other words, if you'd like to talk about the budget, please wait until we have the budget public hearing. This is a public comment time period where we're going to allow anybody to come to talk about anything that is not one of our public hearings. So if you want to talk about the budget or something else, please wait. On that note, I will declare the public comment section to be opened. So if you would like to speak on public comments, please come forward, state your name, your voting district, and you will have 3 minutes. Yes, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. Brian Morgan from the Madison District. Last time, at the last meeting, you talked about the refinance on the bond from 2003. I think I'd like a little bit more information on that. It sounds like we might be in the position where we're making a decision to save about $1 million over 10 years on a 20-year note. And when you look at the details of it, and I think the current interest rate was 5% on the current bill. Over the course of 20 years, you got to look at the savings over that, which equates to about $55,000 a year. The economy, the way it's going, 5% over 20 years is pretty good. And 10 years from now, when we have to refinance that 2.7%, I just want to make sure we're not looking at a short-term gain and a long-term lost opportunity there, rather than sticking with the current 5% over the duration of 20 years, rather than getting into kind of an arms situation with a 10-year $1 million savings that actually might hurt the county over 20 years. So I would just ask that you guys look into that and clarify those figures. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I was just checking with the county administrator. We should have that on our website. If it's not already, we'll make sure that that actual presentation from Davenport's on our website, so you'll have the more information you want.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the public comment section? Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the public comment section? Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the public comment section?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Rachel Farmer. I live in Bowling Green and work with the local PTAs. As a parent of students attending Caroline County schools, I would like to ask for your support in funding the school board's budget request. While our school system has seen increased enrollment, you, the Board of Supervisors, have decreased funding and the schools now operate with less county support than they had in 2008. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Farmer. That was really a budget question, but since you fed me, that's okay. Ms. Farmer works in the elementary school in the cafeteria section. So thank you very much. We will address that again when we get to the budget. Anything else that's not a budget-related question that you'd like to speak to? Is it a budget-related question? Okay, you have to wait. Give me 1 second. If you want to sit right there, you can be first. Okay. Anybody else for public comment? Hearing none, we'll declare public comment closed. And now we are going to go to the agenda items number 3 and 4, which go hand in hand. They are the fiscal year budget and 5-year capital improvement plan and the proposed tax rate for the calendar year. So at this time, I will declare the public hearing open, and anyone who would like to speak about the budget or the tax rate may do so. Oh, Mr. Cully wants to make his presentation first. So, before I declare it open, Mr. Cully would make a brief budget presentation, again summarizing what you gave the board 2 weeks ago. Mr. Cully, here's the budget.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm going to run through this, and this is a little bit updated from our work session, so we did make some changes to the proposed budget. Something that'll run this thing. I can stay in the microphone. For those that have already been here before, I'm sorry for going through some of this again, but you have to know where we are today. You kind of have to know where we came from. The total department request increase from FY14 to FY15 was $8,755,470, or 20.92%. The total real estate tax increase needed to fully fund all requests is 31.57 cents. Schools Operation Fund requested increase, $2,850,998, or 24.5%. The real estate tax increase needed to fully fund schools' operational request is 10.28 cents. The real estate tax increase needed to fund the new schools debt service, which was approved by a voter referendum last November, is 7.32 cents. Total real estate tax increase needed to fully fund the school's request, which would be the $2.8 million, and the debt service on the new schools is 17.6 cents. This is an overview of the county administrator's budget with the changes that were made on recommendation by the board at last Wednesday's budget work session. Total increase proposed FY14 to 15, all funds, $3,356,029, or 4.1%. Total increase to the general fund is $3,051,377, or 7.29%. Total real estate tax increase needed to balance budget, 11 cents. Total cut from department requests, $5,714,805. No raises for his employees are included for county side. One new employee has been recommended part-time 4 hours a day in the county administrator's office. Increasing the major increases in the general fund budget. Transfer to debt retirement, $5,303,824. It's an increase of $2,155,965, or 68.49%. That's a reflection of the debt for the schools that were approved by voter referendum and the new radio system that we borrowed money last June of $6.5 million. Transfer to school operations fund is recommended $12 million. This is an increase of $364,196, or 3.13% over last year's funding. Transfer to comprehensive services, $678,140. This is an increase of $84,025, or 14.14% for comprehensive services. That's a program that we don't have a whole lot of control over. It's the students that happen to show up. Transfer to utilities fund, $1,629,828. This is an increase of $12,427, or 0.77%. Utilities fund operating budgets decreasing $65,226, or minus 1.17%. We also will experience lost revenue of $117,490, or 16.85%, from the loss of revenue from Lake Caroline when Aqua Water takes over and puts a new water plant in and stops purchasing water from the county. Transfer to social services, an increase of $40,497, or 6.97%. That does include the funding for 2 additional social workers that was approved by the board during last year's, after last year's budget, sometime in the fall. So that's the only real reason for that increase. Transfer to capital improvement fund is the only capital funded program we have, courthouse security system, $187,371. Obviously, that's an increase of that same amount because we didn't have any capital improvement fund money in the 14 budget. Expense increase, excluding transfers to debt retirement in schools, $531,216, or 1.27%. Expense increase, excluding all transfers which go to other funds, is only $224,426, or 0.54%. We have an increase in the budget to start the general reassessment. That's $201,494, and that'll be split. We'll probably have another $200 or better in FY16 budget to complete the reassessment. We have an increase of $100,000 for the tower rental for the new radio system as approved earlier tonight with Hanover. That's part of that money that was approved with Hanover is what's budgeted for in this $100,000, and this is 6 tower sites, 3 in the county, 1 in Essex, and 2 in Hanover, where we're renting tower space. Increase to the regional jail, $77,285. That's about a 3.88% increase. That's another one we don't exactly have a whole lot of control over. It's based on the number of inmate days. Total cut from FY14 department budgets. This is a real cut. This is not from their requests. $186,915, a decrease of 0.45%. So out of all the budgets in the general fund, we found a way to try to trim $186,915 from the current budget we're operating in today. Lost revenue to the county. Boundary line adjustment, Town of Port Royal. Starting July 1, when the Town of Port Royal's boundary expands to cover more businesses up there, we will lose meals tax revenue and various other revenues that average about $61,558. Lost revenue Aqua, I talked about that earlier, is that $117,490 that we expect to lose if they take 6 months to get their new plant operating, which is kind of the number they're giving us at this time. Potential loss of SAFER grant 5 firefighter medic positions, $228,000. That's a decrease of 75%. That grant runs out on the federal budget year, which is September 30th. We will be reapplying for that, but you never, excuse me, never know whether you're going to get that or not. We do have those positions currently covered with the amount of revenue we have today. Proposed expenditures, $44,907.69. That's an increase of $3,040,000. That's 7.2%. Total local funds for schools, $17,928,428. This includes $12 million for operations, $5,811,035 for school debt service payments, and $117,383 for existing lease payments for school buses. Proposed real estate tax increase is 11 cents from 72 cents to 83 cents per 100 assessed value. It's $19,591,636, increasing by $2,374,979, or 13.79%. Personal property tax, no rate increase is proposed. $8,199,237, which is increasing by roughly $62,027 or 0.76%. That's just from growth in personal property, new cars, and things of that sort. The FY15 budget includes debt service payments for the $6.5 million new public safety radio system and for the $25 million voter-approved high school and Madison Elementary School renovations and additions. These two projects are equal to 11 cents of the proposed real estate tax increase. I'll go over real quickly the capital improvement program for the fiscal year 15 through 19. The total request from all departments for infrastructure for 15, $10,223,105. Total request to all departments equipment, $1,948,629. Grand total all requests for FY15, all departments, $12,171,734. The grand total for FY15 through FY19, all requests, which would be infrastructure and equipment, $71,124,846. County Administrator's recommendations. Courthouse security upgrade, as we mentioned in an earlier slide, $187,371. Police and vehicle equipment, $147,756. EMS replacements, $175,000. County maintenance shop, $300,000. Totals, infrastructure, $487,371. Equipment, $322,756. Total, $810,127. For the FY15 budget, only includes funds for the courthouse security upgrades in the amount of $187,371. Other projects were not proposed for funding for FY15 because I did not have the revenue to be able to bring those in at 12 cents, much less at 11. That's the end of my presentation. Glad to answer any questions. I do have the budget down here if that's needed.
Okay. Before we begin the public hearing, any questions for Mr. Cully from the board members? Thank you, Mr. Cully. We had a budget presentation 2 weeks ago, and we had a budget work session last week where we cut a penny off the tax rate based on revenues. If there are no questions for Mr. Cully, ma'am, you are going to be first. I'm going to open the public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2015 budget and the 5-year capital improvement plan and the tax rate. Public hearing is open. Anyone who would like to speak, please come forward, state your name, your voting district, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Tina Long Gray, and I'm in the Port Rural voting district, and I just want to speak on behalf of the proposed school board, the school budget. I am a parent of a child who has been clinically diagnosed with a learning disability. My child is currently in Caroline Middle School, and from what I've been advised of, the resources that are being utilized for his disability are not up to par with our surrounding counties. I've actually been encouraged to send him to other schools. There are many different new technologies that are out there that are available for kids with disabilities, kids that have reading disorders, mathematical disorders, disorders with written expression, et cetera, et cetera. And unfortunately, because of the lack of funding and the lack of resources, as a county as a whole, we are not utilizing those resources. Also, as a state employee, I have the opportunity to speak with a lot of other parents and a lot of other localities. And it's very disheartening to know that we fall short when it comes to those types of resources. Any additional funding that we're able to receive will help build those additional resources, whether those resources be additional teachers, mentors, technology, actual materials within the school, etc. Also, another thing that I want to point out as well, in dealing with other parents that are within the county, what I'm finding is that there are a lot of parents that are either deciding to send their children to private schools outside of the county or tuition them into other public schools within other counties or use other people's addresses to get them into other public schools, or they're just uprooting themselves and moving out of the county, which overall is causing additional loss for the county when it comes to revenue, whether it be them transitioning their kids into other counties. If I'm taking my kid to Hanover or Fredericksburg, that's where I'm going to do my shopping at. So the county is going to take a loss. And then also, too, the just complete uproot of a family within the county. Now, with that being said, I also want to use this as a quick opportunity to give a compliment to Ms. Wright and her staff at Caroline Middle School for what they have been able to accomplish with the minimal resources that they do have. This is my second child that's in Caroline Middle School, and I do want to point out that even though they don't have all of